I'm Jim Gary at Battilape's workshop. I decided to do a tour of my shop today, and if you've been watching my channel, you've seen bits and pieces of it, but I really wanted to show the whole thing, including the cars I've restored and the one I'm about to start restoring. The shop is 24 by 60 feet with 12-foot high walls. I had the concrete pad and footings poured when they poured our house foundation about 5 years ago. The metal building was erected in a single day by the supplier. I had the garage doors added and the closed cell foam insulation done professionally, but did everything else myself, mostly about 4 years ago. If I had to do it again, I'd make it bigger, probably 30 by 72 feet with 14-foot walls so my motorhome would fit. I ran 100 amp service from the house, and I have both 110 volt and 220 volt outlets in the shop with all the wiring run through the PVC conduit. I also ran internet cable from the house and well water to the shop. The sink in the shop drains into a dry well that I made. I installed the mini split air conditioning unit myself. I built an interior insulated wall so the air conditioned side of my shop is 24 feet by 24 feet, with the remainder of the shop humidity controlled but not air conditioned, and I use it mostly for storage. And it was a challenge to have metalworking, automotive, and woodworking tools all in the same shop, but the dust collection system was the key to not having sawdust all over my lathe and mill and other tools. If you're interested, there are links to my other videos in the description below, so please like and subscribe. Now, let's get on with the video.
So let's take a quick tour of the shop, going in the walk-in door. I've got a few things in my shop that have something to do with my history. And this is a handmade sign I did to get to Yellowstone back in, I think it was 1970. I was hitchhiking around the country and coming back from Chicago back to San Francisco, California, and so I made this sign, of course. The first place I got to when I got back to California was my sister's house, my older sister's house. Well, I was out cleaning out her house because she had to go into a home a couple of years ago, and I found this. She had held on to it all these years, so this is from 1976. So I found it, I brought it home, and I stuck it up in my shop. And then we look to the right, and there's the first cabinets. This is where I store a bunch of stuff. These are wonderful cabinets made by Seville Ultra HD, and they are wonderful. And here's where I keep all my hardware. I don't like to run to Lowe's and Home Depot every 5 minutes, so I have quite a stock of hardware on these top 3 shelves. And then I have specialized toolkits and stuff I keep under, like this is a torque adapter, so any wrench can be a torque wrench. I've got all my different kind of bits, all kinds of bolts, transfer punches, drill bits, stainless steel bolt sets, hydraulic crimpers, Dremel, Forstner bits. I've got all my bearing and seal kits. I've got just all kinds of stuff, inspection camera. My ball joint kit's down at the bottom down there. So that's this one. And this one has 2 layers. There's all the manuals I've collected over the years. Most of them are obsolete, but these all have to do with the old cars I work on. So this is all about British sports cars mostly up here. So I'm going to hang on to those. And then here's the manuals, some of the service manuals for my Workhorse RV. And then various just things, dust collection stuff in here, cables. I try to keep everything organized so I can find it. So that's that one. So I've got 3 helmets up there. The one on the right is a World War I doughboy hat. The one in the middle is a Spanish World War II helmet, and they fought with the Germans, so that's actually a German style helmet, but it's got different insignia on it. And the one on the left is my dad's Vietnam War hat. Now he fought in World War II as a pilot on a B-17, but he later went to Vietnam actually when I was in high school. And he came back in 71, I believe. I have this collection of bolts. Now I work on old British sports cars. You haven't seen that yet because I've been too busy with the RV, but these are all what they call BSF, British Standard Fine, and then Whitworth bolts and nuts. These are stuff specific for British cars that I just keep a stock of. And then this is my fan up here, just to filter the air when I'm doing a lot of woodwork. Even though I have a dust collection system, it's nice to have the fan helping filter the air. And here's where I keep all my power hand tools. Down at the bottom right here is my Kreg track saw, which I use quite a bit when you're cutting down plywood sheets. Track saws are the only way to go. And the Kreg is one of the cheaper ones, but for what I use, it's fine. And here's again all kinds of containers full of, I got Dremel bits, electrical wires, I've got electronic connectors, I've got all kinds of stuff. I try to keep it organized so I can find stuff. Moving along, I've got my two sanders here. This is my panel, so I built this shop. I mean, I didn't build the shop, I had it built, but I did all the finishing inside. So that's all my circuits. I brought 100 amps out here, did it myself, brought it from a panel that I had the house builder put on the outside of the house near here. So I just had to run a trench and run the wire over. So that's nice. So to shut off power to this panel, close a 100 amp breaker located in the sub panel on the outside of the house, just in case somebody needed to know that. This is my mini split. I've done a video on it when I had to repair it. This is the inside unit. I installed this all myself. It's the second one I've installed because I installed one at my old shop as well. And if you notice, you see all this gray PVC conduit. When I wired the shop for 100 amps, both 110 and 220 volts, I put all the wire in conduit. Probably overkill, but I just wanted to make sure everything was safe. These are old drawers left over from the RV that I didn't need to use, so I just stuck them under this table just for the use of it. This is my little Ryobi. It's a disc and a belt sander, and I use it all the time. I use it mostly for metalwork, actually. And here's my miter saw. This is really old Makita. I think I got it in the late 90s. And I've got it's got dust collection out the top here, but that didn't do any good because most of the sawdust goes straight back from the blade right back there. So I built this little wooden box. It's bolted down there and down here. And then I have a dust collection hose going from that. If you watch the dust collection, it goes up. So all these tools can be on the dust collector. It goes all the way up and over. And then there's a place where it comes down to my bandsaw. And I don't use the dust collection for my metal cutting bandsaw in this corner. This is a Grizzly. It's a really nice saw. It used to always cut crooked. When my son was here, we tackled it. It took us a couple of hours. Turned out what we had to do was adjust all the bearings that the blade goes through. They were all crooked, so the blade was crooked, so it's cutting crooked. We all fixed it all. It took a while. If I need to do electronics, I've got pretty well set up. This is the best soldering iron I've ever had by Hakko. It's a fantastic solder gun. I've got a little oscilloscope down there. This power supply, it's a cheaper one, but I use it all the time. And I keep a old dissecting microscope. And then I've got a Geiger counter. You never know. So now we're at the far end of my shop, coming through the front door. If you walk to the front door, now you're at the back room. And now let's look around. So we'll go down this aisle. So here's my variable speed grinder. Now, I paid a fortune for this because hardly anybody sold variable speed grinders. Well, it turns out Harbor Freight now has one for $189. I paid like at least twice that anyway for this. But if you don't have a variable speed grinder and you have the money, man, get one and sell your old one. This is my Bauer drill press. It's a floor drill press, and I've got the magnetic system to clamp it down, so it's really easy to use when you want. You can safely clamp your stuff down without having to fiddle around with nuts and bolts. You just turn this. It's a magnetic system. You can move this anywhere you want. You turn the magnet on, and it won't move. So that's pretty slick. These are just tools, mostly having to do with cars, but I keep my sandpaper here. In here, and all my tape, various kinds, is in here, and the rest is mostly stuff to do with cars. And here's the joiner planer we were just talking about earlier. And here's my lathe. I love this lathe. It's Precision Matthews PM 1030V. It's a good sized lathe, and I got it because it's the one Blondie Hacks had, and she does wonderful videos on how to use lathes. And since she's got this same lathe, it's really easy to learn how to do stuff watching her videos. So that's why I have this particular lathe, and I use it, fairly often. This is the second place I store hardware. I have screws, nuts and bolts, plumbing parts, stainless steel screws, electrical parts, and miscellaneous other things in this rack. And again, these are all my regular tools like mechanics tools, wrenches, all that kind of stuff. Hammers, pliers, everything. And now we're back to the bench where I do most of my mechanical work. That's what this bench is designed for. So it's there. A high point, of course, is my Wilton vise. I'd had a cheap Harbor Freight vise for years, and I hated it because you couldn't easily turn this knob to loosen it, the Harbor Freight one. And I finally looked around. I spent a lot of time deciding, and I bought this Wilton one. And it's pretty good. I'm not sure, I could use a bigger one sometimes, but it's pretty good. If you're doing a lot of work and you need paper to keep your bench tops clean, like when you're painting, I think it's 12 inch, might be more, I can't remember, and you can just rip it off. So that's a wonderful thing. And now we're standing right between my lifts. So there's one side of the car lift, goes across the top and comes back down here. It's a two-point lift. I bought it, and my friend and I installed it ourselves. It wasn't easy, but we installed it. It's blocked off now because I've been working on the RV, and of course the RV wouldn't fit in this lift. I'll be using it a lot when I get to the old cars that I'm restoring. So this is my work desk where I read manuals. I got all my manuals are in the desk drawer, and I have a computer in here, and when I do videos, I download them to a file server from here, but I do the editing of the videos in the house. I got a big gaming computer that's much more comfortable to work on. Here I've got my mill, and it's just a bench mill. It's Precision Matthews, but it's a really nice one. You know, I had a video a while back when I put this on it to change tools on it. It's nice. And I haven't used this as much. You know, I've used it for really simple things, and one of the things I want to do once I get the RV done, is start using it a lot more. So this case here has all the tools that go to it. So now we're heading back to that door we came in. Now I'll turn to the left. This is my woodworker's fence. It's just a cheap Harbor Freight one, and I got a bunch of clutter on it now. Again, the RV takes over everything, but it's kind of nice. I mean, I've got these dog clamps I can use. It's got kind of a crappy vise on it, but you know, it's good enough. These are just more tools. I keep all my paints and stuff up there. I have no idea why. And this is a work table that I used to keep clear, but again, the RV took over everything. So all the stuff back here are parts that either go on the RV or came off the RV, and I don't want to get rid of them until I'm sure I don't need them. Here's the rest of my service manual for the motorhome. This we'll look at a little bit later. This is the part of the hood for the kitchen. And this is the propane stove I took out. I had it installed, but I took it out because I wanted to change how it connects. I wanted a shut-off valve, so I'll be doing a video on that a little bit later. And this is my table saw again. There's the sled we made. This side I built a router table. That's really nice. I've found that to be super valuable. And the dust collection comes here. And if you go up to the corner back here above my mechanics bench, that's where the actual dust collector device is. So I just ran 4-inch PVC to the areas, one to the right, one to the left, for the various places that I drop down for collecting dust. Below that bench, I have my TIG welder down there, some gas for it. I own a MIG welder, but I loaned it to a friend, and he's had it for a while, but I haven't really needed it, but he'll give it back to me when I do. So he's been making good use of it. And TIG welding is kind of interesting. You know, when I learned how to weld the first time back in the 70s, I took a class in welding, and they made us learn how to do what they called gas welding. And what that was is you used a oxyacetylene torch, but it was exactly like TIG welding, except instead of using a plasma torch, you used an oxyacetylene torch. And it took a lot of skill, you know, and I learned how to do that really well back in the day. So that'll be interesting when I try. I haven't used this yet. I bought it. It's just been sitting here because I've been working on the RV all this time. We'll go to the unair conditioned side. So this wall I built myself. It was a lot of work to build. It's insulated. This whole thing is insulated with closed-cell foam. And then if you look up here, you'll see a typical sign they post in cave entrances, underwater cave entrances. And I was a cave diver for many years, did over 1,000 cave dives, mostly for my work, because I was a biologist studying the biology that goes on in these underwater caves. Organizations that train cave divers put these signs in all the cave entrances in Florida. This is another item hanging in my shop. So I worked my way through college at San Francisco State University as an undergrad, working at the San Francisco Maritime Museum. And I got an opportunity to go work with a rigger in Denmark. I thought just for the summer, but I ended up staying there for 2 years, and I got apprenticed as a rigger. So the riggers on sailing vessels put everything from the deck up. So we put in the yards, the masts, all the wire rigging, the running rigging, the sails, everything. And this was a job I did when I got back to the U.S., flying down to Long Beach from San Francisco every weekend and working on this thing. And I finally had to, again, drop out of college for a semester to get it finished. But this was the original pencil rigging plan I drew for it. And it was a replica of the Pilgrim from a book by Henry Dana called 2 Years Before the Mast. So here's a close-up of my note on this rig. And I believe the ship is still around, and I believe it's still got our original rig on it. So let's go in here. So this is the project that I can't wait to get started on. This is a 1954 Jaguar XK140. It looks like it's in pretty terrible shape, but it's actually pretty sound. And they're interesting. This is steel, the body's steel. The hood's aluminum. Go down here. It's got the original metal wheels, steel wheels. That's what it came with. These are uses perfectly flat glass, so it'll be easy to get glass in the windshield when I'm ready. These are wheel covers for the RV. And here's the dash. It's been sort of taken apart. The guy I bought it from had 3 of these, and I think he took some parts off of this over the years, but I bought it anyway. And obviously it's going to take a huge amount of work. It's going to be a frame-off restoration. And it's only a 2-seater. There is a top for it, but it's not really meant to have a top. So there's no side windows on it or anything. The trunk is also aluminum, and that's all the floor to the trunk and various parts of the car. That's the transmission cover. The transmission for it is buried back in here. It's down here. I think you can see it. There, that's the transmission. As far as I know, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, this car was a barn find back in the 1980s. A guy found it in a barn in Pennsylvania. He bought it. He took the engine out, and the engine is still out. Here it is. So they had a dual overhead 6-cylinder in here, straight 6 with dual overhead cams. This was rebuilt at a shop that still exists in Pennsylvania. They rebuilt the engine completely, but it never got put back in the car and has never been run. And unfortunately, it was stored without sealing up all the manifolds and stuff. See, they're just open. So I'll have to take it apart and probably have to rebuild it again, although I'm entertaining the possibility of turning this into an electric car. I'm not sure. I kind of doubt that, but I might. There's my big air compressor. It's nice to have it on this side so I don't hear it so much on the other side. This is just storage of crap, you accumulate when you have a lot of cars. And this here is my Triumph Spitfire. It's never been restored. It's a survivor car. It's from 1980, the last year they made Triumphs at all, and it's a beaut. It really is. It runs really well. I've done a lot of work on it. It originally had a rubber bumper, the big square bumpers the Americans made you put on cars back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, and I replaced them. I got some old bumpers from cars from Europe, put them on so it looks so much better. I put the wire wheels on it, and on this car all the trim was blacked out chrome. They'd blacked all the chrome, and I like real chrome, so I had to replace it all. And the engine's kind of fun. It kind of works backwards from most cars. There we go. So there's the engine, little tiny 4-cylinder. And it's got the American versions had this single giant Weber type carburetor on. It's not a Weber, but it's not Weber, but I've got the ones they put on this car in Europe, and they're dual carbs, and it'll give it about 30 more horsepower, and they're sitting right here in this box, just waiting for me to get around to it. But again, the RV's taking up all my spare time. I keep a dehumidifier running in here, so even though it's hot over here, it doesn't get humid. And this car belonged to my father. This is a 1948 Triumph Roadster. This was the first post-World War II production car built in Europe. And again, it's just got a 4-banger, bigger than the 4-banger on the Spitfire, but it's nothing fancy about the engine. It's a roadster, not a sports car. It's a gentleman's car to drive on trips. close this so you can see what it looks like. There we go. So my father started the restoration of this, and I finished it. One of the things I did is, since my father was a B-17 tail gunner, I made had a hood ornament made for it that is a B-17. That's what that is. So that's pretty neat. Look at these big old headlights it's got. So the front end looks like a pre-war car, but when you go back, it's got steering on the right side because this was made to drive in Britain. It's got a bench seat in the front with an armrest in the middle. And the idea was you could put the armrest up and have your kids sit between you. This is the placard. When I show it, it shows, you know, why does this car have a B-17 bomber hood ornament? And there's a picture of my dad and his crew in World War II. There's my dad standing by the tail of a B-17, and that was one of his B-17s. And this is his one of his medals, having participated in the European air offensive. So I put this card up, and this usually wins in its class first place or second place, depends what other cars are there. But these cars are really rare. There are 4,000 made. There's probably 600 left. And this car is really interesting. Now the back, I've got the wiring harness out of this because I was putting a brand new wiring harness in because it had the original one. But so there's a bunch of crap in here, but you can see here, it had dicky seats. They're called dicky seats. We'd call them rumble seats. So this popped up to act as a windshield, and you had a little seat back there. And my grandkids have driven in this many, many times. They really like riding back there. So that's kind of cool. But this one is waiting for me to have time to put the wiring harness in it. It runs. Both these Triumphs run, but this one just needs me to get around to getting that wiring harness in. So that's about it. I store plywood over here. I have a little trailer for my mower. Here's my mower, little electric Ryobi. It came with lead acid batteries. I converted it to lithium-ion batteries 4 years ago when I first got it. And so that's kind of the story here. Lots of stuff. Not enough time to keep everything going all the time, but I hope that was enjoyable.
Well, that about wraps it up. I hope you found it interesting. A shop changes all the time, so it'll be different every time I get new tools or new projects. But thanks for watching. If you found this useful, please like and subscribe. Bye.